All right, this is Clint from the doorway too, hanging out with Alex. From I think is it Carnwennan, the way you say it?
Carnwennan, yeah.
All right, cool. I just don't want to butcher the name right out of the bat. Yeah, thanks for doing this. I really appreciate it. Your record kind of kicked me in the face a bit. I wasn't quite ready for a true sludgy, crusty doom record in 2024. We don't get a lot of them these days, so it was pretty cool we got that. Yeah. So why don't you tell me a little bit about the band, how it came to be, and how it is to this day?
Well, so Jake, or Castle Jackal, as many know him, he's been playing this song like solo, like he probably started like 3 or 4 years ago. And he's just been like working on it in his free time. I think it started as like a pandemic thing. And I only joined the band like maybe a little less than 2 years ago.
Sure.
So Jake started doing that, and then he asked and James to come in and help keep time. James played drums on the record. James no longer plays with us, but we'll get to that. So, and then eventually Alex came in and wanted to play bass and was getting back into that after not playing music for a really long time. And then I had moved to the area fairly recently. I've only been living here for like probably 2 or 3 years now, in Albany. And I was hanging out in a practice space with my friend Baird, who plays in another local doom band called Rasp. And we were jamming on some stuff, and we were walking out and unloading gear at the end of the night, and I hear this band playing some heavy shit, and I'm like, "Who's that?" And Baird's like, "Oh, that's Jake. He runs this page, Castle Jackal. You might know him." I had no idea. So they come out after they finish it, and I'm like, "Hey, I really like that. What's the band called?" And they're like, "Oh, we don't know. It's a complicated question, blah blah blah." So probably like a few days later, Jake sends me a message and was like, "Hey, so I was talking to some people, and apparently like you're the guitarist, you're the doom guitarist, you are the doom guitarist." And I'm like, that's, I don't know who you're talking to. So he asked me to come and hang out and jam for a bit, and it was just a good fit. And we just, after I joined, it seemed like the ball really got rolling, and we were really like, fleshing out the song, and putting like, I guess I just put the cherry on top. And then we recorded demo, and then shortly after that we recorded the full thing, and we just started playing more shows, and it's been really cool. It's been a cool thing to be a part of. I'm really thankful.
Cool. Yeah, let's talk about the drummer switch. That's probably the best time it's ever to talk about it now. Why did that happen? And you kind of got a big name to jump in to fill the shoes of this project. So
yeah. So James, awesome. I love James. I don't see him too much anymore because he doesn't go into practice. But like when I do see him, I love hanging with him. He's just been an awesome friend. But James never wanted to be in the band.
gotcha.
Jake just kind of brought him in and was like, hey, come on, do this thing. And James was like, okay, I'll help you keep time. And it's like, okay, I'll help you record the demo. Okay, I'll play a couple shows with you. Okay, he was adamant. He did not want to record in the studio for the full album. But we made him anyway. Gotcha. He did a great fucking job. He hates listening to himself play, so it's like torture for him. Poor guy. So after that, we started booking more shows, and it's like, hey, slow down. And he's like, okay. And he talked to us, and he's like, I don't want to do this many shows. It's kind of exhausting for me. He's been in the music scene like really long time, doing all this. He was playing drums in like 3 other bands at the time, and I think he just wanted a break. So he quit all his bands, and And he did one last show with us, and that was really cool. And then and that was like kind of the winter time, so shows were kind of slowing down anyways. So we're like, okay, we'll just like take it easy, start writing some new stuff. And like we started looking for a new drummer. And Jake is good friends with Kevin from the Acacia Strain, and he's been pretty close with the Acacia Strain for a long time. And my partner Chrissy actually toured with the Acacia Strain for like a summer. So we all like kind of knew each other. Well, Jake knew them really well, but I kind of knew them, and it just seemed like the right fit. And so Kevin joined us, and Kevin joined us after his departure from the Acacia Strain. Kevin, the touring lifestyle was just getting to be too much, and it was putting a lot of strain on like Kevin's personal life. So Kevin needed something that, we're never going to go on the road for like half a year straight.
Gotcha.
I would love that personally, but the rest, we're chilling. We're just having a good time writing some heavy music, and we love doing shows here and there, but we don't have any plans to do any heavy touring. So it's a good fit for Kevin. It's much chiller for him. He's always wanted to play in like a heavy doom metal band. So
Gotcha.
stars aligned, and he's been great. He's like an absolute like crusher of a drummer, and it's just it's so I feel really spoiled just getting to play with him. So.
Nice, that's awesome. So there's a couple of bands that you guys kind of make me re-listen to and go back to because of the sound and style you have. I want to kind of talk about them a bit and see if they're actual influences or if it's just things I'm hearing, from your side. So the first one is Primitive Man. So like the guitar tones and the vocal tones are very reminiscent of that. The other two may not be things that you've heard before, but hey, if you have, awesome. The other one's Grief from Boston.
I love Grief. I'm actually personally, I've actually like spent some time with them and hung out with them, and they're super cool dudes. Love their music.
Yeah, Terry and Jeff are cool as ass people, man. They're very. I know them as well too. They're cool. And then the other one, which is going to kind of be more of a left field, but I think it's the melodic side I hear in you because there's this cool dichotomy of crusty, dirgy, and melody on your record. The other one is Shape of Despair over in Europe. And the reason why I say that is you put these funeral doom-esque melodies in it, like in crust, that you don't really hear often. So are those influences at all, or is it just happy accidents that I like those bands and you sound influenced by them?
Definitely big Primitive Man influence. I think Primitive Man and Full of Hell, those are two of Jake and Alex's like biggest influences for sure on this record. Jake's a huge Ohm fan, so we threw in some of those kind of like just jammy elements. And yeah, Alex loves Primitive Man. Holy shit. So a lot of the bass tone is just like, and like Alex is just like, well, I love this thing that Primitive Man does. And Alex just like pushes it to the next level. And like, I've never heard bass tone as like, just like super crushing as Alex puts out. It's crazy. He really makes it the whole thing.
Cool.
Brings it all together.
Yeah, like I was gonna say, Primitive Man is I think the heaviest, nastiest show I've ever seen in my life. I literally left death from a Primitive Man show. And like I said, I've seen them 3 times. Every time, I don't know how they do it. They get heavier and dirtier, and the vocals get lower. I'm not really sure how that's possible, but they keep getting lower every record. And I feel like that's kind of the impressive side of what you do as far as a band. You're pushing the extreme style, the crusty style, and the melodies all at the same time. Was it hard to kind of mix all those different styles together to make an album like this? Because it doesn't seem like it was not thought out. Like there was a lot of time with the layers that are on this.
Well, so Jake kind of put together all the bones of it. So and honestly, and Alex brought in and like kind of created the body, and so it was like always kind of there. So when I came in, I'm just like, I didn't want to like try to like, I didn't rewriting wasn't on my mind. I just wanted to go with the flow on it and like just like add like what I thought would just like blend really well. And so we would get together once or twice a week and just play this song over and over again in the practice space. And we probably do that from like 7 p.m. to 12 a.m. And we just like, and so we've played this song a lot. And every time we'd play it, I would always like, I'd be experimenting with it. I'd always like try something new because at the time I was like the freshest meat there. I was just like trying to find my voice in what this was. And like the most difficult part of that was like just trying to like compartmentalize all these pieces that Jake had written and like kind of like just like get a good understanding of how everything flowed into one another. And and that's kind of how I went about just writing all these leads and melodies is like, I could have like gotten super Sabbathy on a few parts or anything like that, but I just played what felt right, and I think it came out really great.
Cool. So I want to talk about the hardcore element in this band, and maybe I'm the only one that hears it, but I'm sure others do too. But and I'm going to be very specific. There is this like late 80s, early 90s Boston hardcore vibe in you, especially in your guitar tones. I can tell the difference between Jack and you. So like, but in your hardcore tones, it's like this crusty hardcore, like old school doomy. It's like it's what Brief did. I don't like I'm just gonna be honest, okay? But you kind of give me that same tone. Are you a hardcore fan, or was that just a happy accident?
Um, I've been so I'm kind of a weird hardcore fan. I was never a part of the scene until I moved to Albany, and um, my girlfriend is like huge into hardcore, so I never had a choice. But when I was younger, the only hardcore I listened to was like the old stuff, like the stuff that would basically be considered like just like old school punk now.
Yeah.
So like Minor Threat and like From Boston, The Freeze. Um, so all that stuff kind of influenced me a little bit. But lately I'm like I do love some good hardcore. Um, so I do see how you can see that element in our music, and of course, everybody in the band being from Albany, everyone in
Yeah.
the band is like a hardcore kid. So
Oh no, I totally get it. But yeah, the Freeze and Sam Black Church were kind of references I was going to give you. So that's awesome that you said it before I even said it. But yeah, that's the kind of hardcore I was like the old school hardcore, which the hardcore punk rock is what they call it now or whatever. So yeah, no, very cool. I want to talk about the guitar and the bass tones, and specifically because they're the cleanest, heaviest, nastiest tones. Like you never hear sludgy, crusty stuff this clean and full sounding. I know you built pedals and amps for the recording. I read the whole thing about it. So why don't you talk about that a bit? Because I think whatever you did gave you like one of the most powerful, warm, clean tones in this style of music.
oh, that's that's really cool. Um, well, Alex's bass tone is built around his dark glass amp, and live we always just try to use like full size amps. We've borrowed amps and cabs before where we haven't had like an 810 on stage, and it's just completely changed the way that we sounded. So now we're always, we never borrow anymore. So now we're always bringing the half stacks and the 810 to shows. And in my mind, I'm always trying to figure out ways to bring more gear to the shows. But so Alex's bass tone is just built around, an Ampeg full stack. Um, and he has this insane pedal board where he layers like
Mhm.
6 different distortions, and he does it in a really cool way. He does it in he uses like pedals that have FX loops. Like this is all stuff that's like over my head, and I build this shit.
Gotcha.
Um, and so he uses these like preamp pedals that have effects loops that run into them and out of them, and he uses that in order to just create like this very monumental sound that's not just like full distortion like all the time. It's like he's just distorting certain layers of his tone. Um, so it does create just this very like a rich and full um wall of sound. And as for the guitars, like, we keep it dead simple on all of that. um all my gear is at the practice space, so I wish I could show you, but my board is just like a delay and a distortion and a reverb, and I added a chorus to it most recently.
Mm.
And Jake's pedal board is just a distortion. It's just a rat.
Hey, nothing wrong with a rap pedal.
Uh,
um,
so I run, well, we run all the amps pretty much on 10, and I like pushing the preamp right until it like just starts to distort, and then just hitting that with a fuzz, and you get a really nice sound off of that that's like very good for high sustain and doesn't feed back super quick. Um and yeah, that's pretty much it for guitars. Like there's nothing a lot very fancy in there. It's just 100-watt amps and half stacks.
it sounds amazing. So who cares? I'm glad it's simple and it works. That's all, that's what matters in the end. So um, I want to kind of ask you about the record. Why are the 4 songs Roman numerals only and no song titles? That's kind of an odd way of coming in as a brand new band.
Well, so all 4 of those songs are actually one song, says Jake. And I guess we kind of just started playing them as these 3 separate parts because it's really hard to play. Well, it's not hard to play, but like it's just kind of how it like broke itself up as we were playing it, I suppose. So really, the album title is the song title. So, and then it's just these parts, and we can't just upload one song that's this long on a streaming platform anymore because you're not going to get those TikTok kids to dance to.
Right?
um but yeah, that was kind of an idea when we were talking to our label Darkest Records about how to put this out. That was kind of Jordan's idea, was to kind of keep it broken up into these 4 parts, and the 4th part is more of a bonus B-side track than because
Yeah.
it's like it references the full song. It references Lotus all the way through it. So yeah, it's a B-side track more than like part of the song. So it's kind of like 2 of the same songs played in different ways. So
Perfect.
you get 2 songs for 1 record.
That's awesome. So going into that, this was going to be a question I had, so it's great we can kind of bounce off of this. I love longer songs, and I love when artists like give the room to breathe and let the song become what it is. Why do you feel that that's and I'm not politically correct, so you can curse too if you want to. Why do you feel like fucking kids don't want to listen to songs that are over 5 minutes long? Like my favorite songs are 15 and 20-minute long tracks. Like, I'm 51, so like, but I grew up in a totally different age. Like, we walked into record stores and bought records, listened to albums from beginning to end. We would get selections from the record store guys and the kids that were in the stores with us and stuff. Why do you feel like the attention span has gone away? But yet in Doom, I kind of feel like maybe it's coming back because a lot of bands are starting to do longer songs.
Um, I don't know. Like, I mean, the most popular genre right now in terms of like alternative heavy music, what you see, like pretty much like all the semi underground people who started as underground bands, but now they're playing Lollapalooza. It's all
Yeah.
hardcore,
Yeah.
and that's like 2 minute to 5 minute long songs. We could talk a lot about like brain rot and
Yeah.
but I think a lot of like the way younger people want to like consume their their media material. And that's weird to say. I'm 26, so apparently I'm like I got one foot in the coffin, calling these kids younger people. um, but like it's when you look at something on TikTok or something, and you consume your media that way. It's if anything's over a minute, you're not gonna retain much. So a lot of these songs are made to be like little clips that get stuck in your head, because it used to be it would come on in the radio when you were driving, and a part of the song would get stuck in your head and you'd want to hear it more, so you'd buy a CD or whatever. So I don't know, I see TikTok as kind of like the new radio. It's like you're just
Yeah.
swiping through that shit, and what sticks, what doesn't. And I found like really cool heavy bands off of TikTok, and I listened to like 30 seconds of one of their songs and I was hooked. And it works for certain thing. And like that's how I found this band, Morbicon. And I think that band is just fucking, they rip. They're super cool. It reminds me of like, I mean, it's one of the members from Municipal Waste and like Cannabis Corpse, and or a couple of the members, I think. And the drummer used to play for Skeleton Witch. So it's like a super group. It's really cool, but it's black metal Municipal Waste. Who doesn't love that?
Yeah. Yeah. I've heard them before. Yeah. I totally get what you're saying. So.
And I found them one day just scrolling on TikTok. So, it works for, and they have like 8-minute long songs where they're playing. Yeah. So, it's still the same kind of idea still works for heavy music. We post TikToks and stuff and just parts of our things, and that's worked for us, But so I think the younger people who are getting into heavy music for the first time, they're still getting into it from kind of their perspective and way like you or I used to get into it, is like someone's got to put them onto it, whether that's some dude in a record store or some Reddit poster on super elite metal, or some dickwad on TikTok.
There you go. No, that's cool. So I'm going to dig a little deeper into your music and your record, because I've been listening to it a lot. And again, this may be something that I only hear, so you let me know. But I hear a lot of noise rock in your band too. And when I mean by noise rock, I mean like old school touch and go, kind of like Jesus Lizard, Hammerhead, Janitor Joe. I don't know if you know those bands at all, but like, but when I hear that, when I hear Carnwennan do what they do, I absolutely hear the guitar tones and the vocal snarls of like Jesus Lizard and Hammerhead in it, where it's not a punk ethic, it's more of a hardcore noise rock ethic. Did you intentionally put that sound in there? Because it's not on one track, it's on multiple tracks in different spots.
We let the feedback kind of run wild on that song. It just adds to the eeriness, and sometimes when we were like playing this song in the practice space, I would want to like eat a sandwich or something, so I'd just be like eating in between notes, and the feedback would run wild, and that sounds really fucking cool. So we kind of let that stuff go through, and we use a lot of like kind of just like noise gobbledygook techniques to kind of like just like add some more texture to it. But coming from like a noise rock perspective, I could see why you would, but I never really thought about it like that, because I just I've always just like kind of listened to like doom bands who do this stuff a lot too. But I do love that band, Big Black.
Oh yeah.
I think that's what Steve Albini.
Yeah, he just passed away.
Yeah, terrible. But that band, I love that band for a long time. It's hard to find their music around. Yeah, this, but like, so like a lot of his guitar tone on that record really like kind of shaped what I wanted to get out of how I play guitar. It's just like super punishing.
See, I was gonna reference that, but I didn't know if you knew who Big Black was, because that's kind of a really archaic band.
It's so niche, isn't it?
Yeah, but like I said, like so the guitar tones on your record remind me a lot about the songs about fucking from Big Black, like the way those tones are, because it's the most metallic noise rock record I've ever heard in my life. So like
Yeah.
that's awesome that you gave that reference. No, very, very cool. So I want to kind of talk about Darkest Records, because I know shit about them. They seem like a brand new label. Like I like it's. I happen to just be lucky, and I know Dave and Liz from Earsplit, and they were like, "You gotta listen to this goddamn band. You're gonna absolutely love it. You're gonna want to interview them. I know you are." Just like, Dave gave me the 2 hour pitch about how great you were. But like I said, tell me about how you hooked up with Darkest Records and how you feel things are going so far.
So Darkest Records is owned by Jordan, who plays in a band called Hush. I don't know if you know them.
Yes.
And they're legends up here. Really cool band. Very badass. They just kind of they write more nowadays. I think they're interested in playing shows, but so the band itself is kind of on like just like let's make some new music and just chill. So they're mellowing out. So we actually recorded at Jordan's studio in Hudson, New York. Beautiful studio. It's built into a barn. It's like my favorite place I've ever recorded. I haven't gotten to record in a lot of places, but it's very lovely. It's so beautiful. It's like there's a little pond like right across from the studio. It's just absolutely gorgeous. I saw a loon there. That was crazy.
Nice.
So we're recording with Dude Slowy. I'm trying to remember his studio name. It'll come back to me, or you can just edit and flash
Yeah, no problem.
studio name over my face. And Slowy's great. Did an awesome job. We love working with him because he just has a really good ear for this stuff. So while we were recording, Jordan would come by and come through and Jordan's got this really great calm energy for someone who plays in an insane doom band. He just comes through and he's like, "Wow, sounded really good, guys. Great work." And you just walk out like, "Okay, thank you, Jordan." And then Jordan would come back around. And Jordan be like, "Wow, it's really coming along, y'all. I'm loving this." Okay, cool. So at the end of recording, we were all kind of like sitting around shooting shit. And Jordan approaches Jake. He's like, "I'm really loving the sound of your record. It's coming out great." And Jordan was telling Jake about how he's going to start his own record label. Jordan currently works for a bigger record label, and definitely knows his way around that industry. Knows all the vinyl manufacturers, and it's a big part of his life. He loves physical music and just huge music lover, really cool guy. And so he asked if like he signed Oldest C a bit earlier than us. They're a cool band out of Philadelphia. They kind of do a similar thing, so we became friends with them fairly quickly. So Jordan wanted to put out a record, and we only had a demo out at that point. I think we played like 3 or 4 shows, and we were like, "Oh, okay, cool." Going right on vinyl. So that was a huge trip for me personally. And so we talked to Jordan a little bit more, and we had a meeting later on, but yeah, he just loves doing this kind of stuff, and he's got a ton of other really rad bands on his radar, and he's just doing a very cool and righteous thing. So we're super happy and proud to be working with him.
Yeah, it's awesome. No, like I said, I wouldn't have gotten in touch with you without him. So that's fantastic, because he literally, I emailed him and I said, "Hey, I don't know anything about your new band, but like, you think they'd be interested in doing an interview? And he like gets right back to me. He's like, hell yeah, they would. Like, let's get this going. I was like, awesome, cool.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, so like that was great. The other thing I want to talk about is like, yeah, it's a vinyl only release, right? There's no CD version of it.
No CD. I mean, of course, there's digital on all platforms, but yeah, just like vinyl. That's all we wanted. You know, I wanted cassettes for our demo, but we actually took our demo down. So if you own our demo in digital off of Bandcamp, you're probably one of the only people to have that anymore.
Nice. Cool. Do you want it out on CD at all, or are you just happy with vinyl only?
We could put it out on CD if there's more demand for it. But I think we want to sell more T-shirts and records before we think about that.
Nice. Hey, that makes sense in this day and age. Absolutely. So I've never seen you live. How is the album different from the band live? Kind of talk to me about the two sides of the project.
The band live is certainly an experience, I'd say. That's in corporate speak. Live, you know, we don't want to just be like a band that just plays drone music, just like in front of you for half an hour. So Jake made sure to put on this video element. So we project a video that Jake had taken clips from like inspirative sources and just projects them like over us or behind us while we play. And I think that set us apart from other just like doom metal bands or drone bands. Just like, you know, there's this cool music and you also have a little movie to watch. So I think that's kind of cool. And I think that comes from like, I guess like, I don't know how else to say it, but I guess like a little guilt you have when you're playing in front of an audience and you're giving them one note for half an hour. So it's just kind of like, you know, giving the audience a little bit something else to like grab onto. And I think it's been really cool, and we've gotten a great response from our live shows because of, you know, the video. Of course we all still like perform on stage. We're not just standing there like statues, but you know, it sets us apart. And yeah, I think it's really cool, and I can turn around and watch a little TV while I play too and get a little bored.
No, that's awesome. So that brings me back to the old school days of music too. There's two bands in particular that did that very thing that are two of my favorite bands, and one of them's Neurosis, and the other one's Cult of Luna. They both had full projection movies. Even in Not Metal, but another one of my favorite bands, Godspeed You Black Emperor, they played videos over their entire 2 hours set too. That's really cool. Like, it's an experience then. It's not just like, the thing I loved about it is you're not hiding, you're making it an event. You're not just making it watching it a band. So that's awesome.
And we're constantly updating our own video, and you know, Jake's always throwing in something cool in there, and we're always sending each other like clips, like, look what I found, you should put that in. Nice. So it's always different. So every time you come and see us, you're getting a different video. So we're always trying to stay on top of that. We never want people. We do, you know, it's doom metal and drone music. It's very easy to like, bored and go take a shit.
I get it.
So we're always trying to figure out ways to like, just, you know, we're entertainers. We're like carnies, so we're just trying to keep that crowd engaged and entertained, and creating an immersive experience for this kind of music is just one way to do that. You know, hardcore bands got it easy, like the experience of the crowd.
Absolutely.
Get people to two-step and hit each other. So
yeah, it's a little hard to do that with doom music. Get people to two-step and hit each other.
I'm trying. The new stuff we're writing, I'm trying to get people to hit each other a little bit. So
Well, like I said, I could hear the hardcore in this stuff, so I'm sure that that element will come out again. That's great. Um, so I kind of like to, I'm going to end with a couple of questions that are more thinkers. So like that's kind of the way I like to do this. Uh, so far, I know the record's not been out for very long, but have you been surprised or like has any feedback that you gotten with like, holy shit, somebody gets it, or I never thought of the band this way before? Like, have you gotten feedback or reviews like that where maybe it's not going to change the thought of the band, but now the band feels validated, or they're like, holy shit, I never heard this before. We can go in this direction, and these people are going to dig it.
Pretty much everyone who's reviewed. Okay, well, one, I didn't expect this many people to review our record. I think we have like 10 or something separate reviews of this record now. It's just like, and pretty much every person who's reviewed it cites Primitive Man. So that feels super validating. Because it's like, oh yeah, that's kind of like, that's kind of a niche we want to fit into, and we would love to play with more bands like that. And that's definitely what we're going for. So we're like, hell yeah. But I think someone compared us to Sleep, and Sleep has always been just like a band that they're like one of my first like stoner doom bands that I got into. Is like Sleep and Electric Wizard, just like every other doomer.
Sure.
So getting compared to Sleep was like kind of a cool moment for me. I was like, oh wow, okay, that's pretty cool. It's just like never, it's like it's a pretty big compliment.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally get it. Is there anything that you've seen written that shocked you and you just never really thought of the band that way before? Or?
That is a thinker. I guess I have to take a moment. So a lot of people just like were saying how like crushing and brutal our record is, and having listened to this song like over 100 times and played it so much, you kind of stop hearing it as it's like you disconnect from it a little bit, and you can't really hear the elements you bring in because you just heard it a million times, and you go a little bit ear blind to it, I suppose.
Sure.
You smell something so much you go nose blind, that kind of thing.
Sure.
I don't want to say deaf because I'm afraid of that.
Gotcha. No, totally understand.
So hearing people just like kind of like, it's reassuring. And I'm like, oh, okay, good. What I'm playing is crushing, and like I don't have to worry about how I don't have to worry about like, is this heavy? So
Cool.
I guess that in a way it's a little surprising when someone's like, yeah, this is probably the heaviest thing like I've heard this year. And it's like, okay, cool.
That's awesome. So a friend of mine that I record music with made a comment about your record, and I want to talk to you about it because I want to see what your thoughts are on it. He literally said to me, we were listening to it, and we just went to Oklahoma to a Comic-Con, and like we were listening to it on the drive there. It's like a 3-hour drive from the Texas area where I'm from, and we were listening to it. And he goes, "This is the most beautiful doomy record I've ever heard in my life." And I looked over to him like, "What do you mean by beautiful? Like, I really want to know." Like, he goes, "It's like the warmest, thickest, fullest sounding. It's like beautiful doom." He goes, "I feel like it's the same thing as like when we put on Disembowelment." And I'm like, "What?" I'm like, he's like, you don't expect the record that you get. You don't expect grindcore and hardcore when you listen to Disembowelment records, like, but you get it. And he said to me, he goes, "The guitar tones at times they're beautiful. The bass is warm and full. And then it becomes this nightmarish goddamn band." And he goes, "There's not much out there." Would you agree that it's a beautiful doom record? Like, I love that terminology. So.
Yeah. when I was like originally writing like a lot of the leads for this record, and I was looking to Jake and be like, what do you want? Like, do you want me to do a Slayer solo here? Like, do I bust out the whammy bar? Like, what's going on? And Jake would tell me, he was like, do you think you could like make it pretty? And I was like, okay, I'll try.
It's
I'll
there.
give it my best shot. So yeah, like we definitely like Earth is like super crushing, but you know, a lot of their tracks are just like fucking, they're gorgeous. Like Bees Made Honey and the Lion's Skull, huge. Like
Oh, I love that record.
that is the record. Angels of Darkness, Demons of Light, another one with that cello and stuff, you know, is haunting, but it's like gorgeous. It's just these gorgeous melodies. So we take a lot from that. Um and yeah, you know, we just want to, we kind of, it's like a way to like entrance somebody, is like just like throwing somebody into this like gorgeous ponds, but like, and like there's like lily pads and lotus flowers and like beautiful herons and loons, and they're sinking in this pond, but they just keep sinking and sinking until they don't hit a bottom, you know. It's so that's kind of like the idea that I had in my head, is just this bottomless pond that's very gorgeous from the top, but you just keep sinking into the darkness if you fall in.
Very cool. No, that's awesome. And with Earth, like I have always said that they create spaghetti westerns and then make doom music. Like that's kind of like what they do. Like it always reminds me of a Clint Eastwood movie. Every time I listen to Earth, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh wait, no, they are a doom band because here it comes. Like that's kind of the thing. So very cool.
Yeah.
So my last question for you is another thinker. I know, I get it. You know, it's early on a Saturday, and I'm bothering you with all these in-depth questions. Uh, but if you could have anybody in the entire world, artist, musician, take your music and make it their own, one band, one artist, who would it be and why? If you could hand them, you know, the Carnwennan album and say, take this, I want to hear it in your eyes.
Wow. Oh, that's a great question.
If you need help, I have one in my head, and that's why I'm asking you. So, like,
I mean, Van Halen, honestly.
nice.
If I had, yeah, if anybody could take that record and redo it, I would love to hear what Eddie Van Halen would do with that guitar. Yeah,
Very,
and those
very.
riffs and shit. I would love that.
That would be a total twist on what you're doing for sure. That would be pretty. That'd be pretty amazing. Awesome, cool. That's all the questions I really have. What I'm going to do is kind of give you the next couple minutes to talk about what the band's up to, live shows, next releases. If you could talk about new music, fantastic. The floor is yours.
Okay. Well, we're writing a EP right now, and it's going to be in conjunction. We're going to kind of like, it's our own EP, but we're also doing a single as a split with another cool band that we were becoming friends with, and we really like them. And I don't know if I can say who with yet. Um, so, but it's going to be exciting. We're very stoked for that. And the songs we're writing are, you know, it's not more of the same, but it's also not a complete departure from what we've been doing. And so I pretty much wrote no riffs on the last record. Um, just like I would just add to whatever Jake was doing. But on this record, Jake's letting me write a bit more, and you know, I've been having a lot of fun with that, and I haven't written music properly in like 5 or 6 years. So just getting back into that headspace has been really cool for me, because I just kind of, you know, I haven't had like I haven't had the headspace for it in a long time. So it's been nice. So I'm very excited for that stuff. Um, as for shows, we actually had to cancel a couple shows. So And that's just because our bassist Alex, he's recovering from some very heavy surgery.
Mm.
They took out like half of his face.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and put his leg bone in his face. He had a tumor. He's good now.
Oh,
He's recovering way quicker than the doctors thought, and he actually played a show with us last week. Um, all fucked up. But he still got on that stage. So we got one show out of him, but we had to cancel a couple others this month. But we do have a big show coming up in Albany, um, in July, and it's with a couple big bands, and we're pretty stoked on it. I still can't say anything about it, but we're pretty. I can't say who because it hasn't been released yet, but
yeah.
it's gonna be very cool. I can't wait to announce that. But as for shows, we don't have a whole lot going on. Mostly because like we don't know how long it's gonna take before Alex is gonna be comfortable, like getting back on the road and stuff. So we're kind of taking it easy right now, but we're hoping we would love to play Boston and Maine and Vermont, and we pretty much want to play all of New England. We want to get down to Philly. We want to get into DC, and there's just cool doom bands to play with all over. So we just, we would love to hit the road as soon as we can and get some cool shows going. And just getting out there. We've played Albany a good fair amount, and a couple months ago we played Connecticut, and that was a really fun show.
Nice.
So yeah, we're itching, but we're also kind of taking our time.
Nah, that's awesome. I hope to see you in Texas one day. You can come out, we'll hang out, we'll talk about music and stuff as well too. That'd be great.
Yeah, we love I love Texas.
Yeah.
It's honestly one of my favorite places to tour through. It's so fun. It's like awesome. I love Texas. Buc-ee's at every fucking
there's one 10 minutes from my house.
Hell yeah, that chopped brisket just fucking.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think about it. I dream about that brisket.
Yeah, I live in the Fort Worth area, so yeah, come on down. That'd be freaking awesome. But anyway, Alex, thank you so very much for doing this. I appreciate it. The new record it's fucking phenomenal. It's not good, it's fucking phenomenal. Okay. Yeah, it's one of my favorite records of 2024 so far. I do very few interviews, and people always bitch about that, but I only do interviews with the bands I really want to. And you will I lost my job 3 months ago, so I kind of went this really downward spiral. Got a job last week, so it's awesome. Like I'm actually going to start working again, which is phenomenal. I was working for 6 years, and you know how it is. Like all of a sudden, the world ends when there's months of nothing going on. But I heard your goddamn record, and I said, you know what? It's time to start doing interviews again, and I'm so glad that you took the time with me to do it. Like I said, next time when you do new music, anything new coming on, we'll have another conversation. Maybe it'll be with all the band. I don't give a damn. It's just with you. I could care less. Like, look, let's talk about it when new stuff comes again.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This has been awesome. You've had great questions. I love that. Yeah, next time we have new stuff out, let's do another one. We'll get the whole band here, and we can all yell over each other. It'll be great time.
Nah, thank you again, Clint from the Doorway too. Hanging over Alex from Carnwennan. That's not the easiest band name in the world to say, by the way, just so you know. But anyway, no, thanks for doing this, and until next time, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Awesome. Farewell.